this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, a live show here on a Sunday for you. Glad to have you along with us. And without further ado, let's hand it over to Denny.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And of course, welcome to What the Hell Are You Smoking? Today's show, as you know, we put out a poll yesterday because I wanted your opinions on Billy staying or Billy going. And we got how many responses?
We had 71 responses. 55% said yes. 45% said no. That was out of 71 votes. There could be no tie because it was an odd number, which is exactly how it should be.
Okay. Well, my show today is to explain to you why I think Billy needs to step aside. And 45% of you think that Billy should stay. Well, I wrote this, it's called The Letter. And this is going on Hockey Wilderness. It should have went on yesterday, but I screwed some stuff up. They won't accept it till I get it fixed. And I don't know how to do it. So I got somebody coming over this afternoon. And he's going to help me fill out all the good stuff so I can be a regular on Hockey Wilderness. So here we go. The letter. This letter is addressed to Craig Leopold and for all who want to read. In the beginning, the fans were excited to have Bill Guerin as the new GM. And the most used quote was, "In God we trust Billy." And I remember those days. I don't know if you do, but I do. And now it's, "Oh God, what has Billy done now?" which is kind of hilarious, actually. And let me explain. The last 7 transactions by Billy have not helped the team at all. Actually, it's quite the opposite. And I'm picking one trade that he did, for example, and that was giving up a second-round draft pick for Gustav Nyquist. Now, you know, he had 21 points in, 50, 60 games, something like that.
Yeah.
There was absolutely nobody calling him or calling Poyle in Nashville to upgrade their team with Gustav Nyquist. And when you think what Florida did with their second round, what they gave up, who they got, it just shows you a glaring example of how the game has passed Billy by. And not just one, but his last 7, from the extensions to his last few trades. The only good thing this year was Jurasek, and that was done by Judd Brackett. His 5-year plan has been mostly successful. His version 2.0, though, it's time for Judd to take over, and I'll explain why. Not only these trades, but as you know, when Billy hired Judd Brackett, it was because Judd Brackett left Vancouver because they would not give him control of picking the draft picks, of which Billy did. He basically wanted to become the GM there, and he said no. So Billy hired him, which is the best hire the Wild have ever done, in my opinion. Judd Brackett has done a hell of a job. I mean, he's building a dynasty here. And we have 5 picks waiting at the front door for next year. And with John Hines at the helm, we'll be lucky if we get to see 2. John Hines does not like rookies. He said so. And his biggest quote is, "I don't trust them." Well, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. You got to give the kids a chance to see what they got. And then when he does bring them up, let's take Jurasek, for example. All he did was sit on the bench instead of playing him. They did not give a good reason why. What was that, Seth, his explanation last week?
It's I can find it, but it was quite the word salad.
Yeah, I mean, he's talked a lot of words and didn't say anything. And I've listened to it a couple of times. I still don't understand what he's talking about. He didn't give an answer, other than they talk about it for hours every day. Well, now they've sent Jurasek back down, and Brodeen's coming back on, and that's good. 3 weeks ago, I said I didn't think the Wild would make the playoffs. I think they'd miss it by 2 points. Well, the Minnesota Wild have had extremely bad luck with injuries. And I'm thinking that they're going to have at least one more injured for the end of the year. I mean, it only makes sense the way things have been going. And I don't know exactly. I mean, we went 6-3-1 in our last 10. But look at the teams who beat other than Colorado. Not very impressive. All win's a win, regardless. But beating up on Buffalo, that gives me no hope at all. They're a terrible team, as most of them are. So to start with Judd Brackett, of course we get a new coach. And of course I'm highly recommended David Carle from Denver, who they just lost in the playoffs last night, 4-3 in overtime. So I think Zeev Buium is going to be here sooner than later. I'm not sure if they're still in the playoffs. Maybe Trav would. Is Trav on board today?
I haven't seen him yet.
Okay. But they lost Western Michigan yesterday. So Zeev Buium could actually be here a lot sooner than we thought. Because I don't know if the playoffs are over for him or not yet, but it seems like it. So what happens when Zeev Buium comes on? Who are they going to take off? Morrell? I don't know. Jurasek was here and they never played him. What do you think, Seth?
So I'm just looking here. The selections for the NCAA hockey tournament for the men, they're today. And it looks as though Denver is going to be in that mix.
Okay.
So they're still in the postseason.
Okay. Well, then we don't have to worry about that yet. So at any rate, and you all know the trades that I'm talking about, the extensions, we've gone over it 100 times. And that's why I would like to see Judd take over, because it would be a smooth transition, just having to move up to GM chair and let Billy do whatever presidential duties he has. John Hines is not going to take us to the promised land. He's good at some things, but overall, I give him a C. Even though he's won a lot of games, his X's and O's are pretty good. I mean, he's a good tactician. His weaknesses are, number one, is time management. And any way you cut it, and I'll give you an example. Brock Faber playing 29 minutes a game, you're burning the candle at both ends with that. Not only is you getting tired physically, but mentally also. And that, when you're making mistakes mentally, that's because you're tired. And I know last game they got him down to 23. He shouldn't be playing more than 20 minutes a game, period. But that's John Hines' style. And that's just one example. I mean, the fourth line here is death row. a good team should never have less than 12 minutes for the fourth line. And he's 7-8. And when you have time management like that, it hurts the growth of the team, and it hurts the growth of the players. And I don't agree with his fourth line. Really, 12 minutes should be the minimum fourth line plays. On a good hockey team, that's how it should be. You want four lines rolling, and John Hines, I just don't see him doing that. So that's another reason why Judd Brackett should step in, because and I saw some comments that David Carle doesn't want to be a head coach in the NHL. I don't believe that for a second. Everybody who's in college coaching wants to be an NHL coach. I mean, that's our aspirations from the beginning. And David Carle has won 2 gold medals in the juniors. He won the hockey championship in college hockey last year. He's done all he can do. And it's time for the Wild to give him a chance. You know, he's got Z William, and we got a couple other picks there in Denver, I think. It would make for a very good transition. And when I talk about the 5 kids, I'm talking about Z William, Jurasek, Urov, Wallstead, Ogren, and possibly Riley Height. I mean, Riley Height will probably take a year in Iowa. It all depends on how much he's grown. Riley Height has to go through the same thing that Rossi did. He has to gain 15 pounds of muscle to become an NHL. Or I have yet to been able to find out anything on his weight gains, or if he's had any at all. The information isn't out there. So if anybody out there knows, please let me know. That would be a big deal. But we got all these kids waiting at the front door to play. And with Hines, I just don't see other than maybe Zeev and Urov, maybe Ogren. But, you know, he doesn't like kids. And it's time for the kids now. It would make for a good balance. And that's why I think Billy should step aside and let Judd take over. Because he's got a lot of mess to clean up. You know, we have 6 players that he's got to move. And, you know, all these no trade clauses. Well, you know what I think about no trade clauses? Give Herbies for a couple of days and they'll change your mind. And really, if you don't know what Herbies are, it's a workout that Herb Brooks used to use in the 1980 Olympics to get the boys in shape. And it's all a true story. He really did do that. And it's a hell of a workout. Some coaches call it the suicide drills too, but it's appropriate. And for anybody who doesn't want to get traded, they get Herbies. Plain and simple. That'll clear that up in a heartbeat. Anybody got any answers, comments on the letter?
We have a lot of comments.
Okay, let's get to them.
A lot of comments. Let's go to Dan first. Judd has repeatedly said he doesn't want to be GM. His strengths are in managing the scouting department and working with prospects, not signing free agents and doing cap gymnastics. Why set him up to fail?
Number one, where has he ever said that? I have never heard that ever.
He has said it. He's said it in interviews.
He has.
Yeah.
That he doesn't want the GM?
Yep.
Really?
That he wants to scout.
Well, that shoots that all to hell, doesn't it? I've never heard him say that. Well, if he doesn't want to be GM, then we have to look at another alternative period, because Billy's view of a Stanley Cup contender is 1990s hockey, not today's hockey. Today's game is built around speed and skill, not old lumbering, slow and go guys. That's what he's doing. We'll never get to be a real cup contender with the players he's picking up. I mean, it is what it is, and we got to deal with it. Right now I have the Wild number 12 in the power rankings. And the reason I don't do power rankings because the Wild aren't in the top 10. Even though they went 6-3-1 this week, I see tough times ahead this coming week. We'll see how they do then, because they're going to be playing some really good teams, and time will tell. But this puts a whole different light on. I have never heard him say that. I can't believe it, actually. So I guess that shoots my theory all to hell. But we do need somebody to take over for Billy, because his vision and what he thinks can win a Stanley Cup, they don't mix today. And if Jed doesn't want the job and he just wants to keep picking, well, I have no problem with that. But we do have to find a new GM, simply because of his vision. His 5-year plan is 2.0 version now. And his last 7 trades and extensions have not been a helper for the Wild. That's my reasoning for Billy stepping aside. More questions, more comments.
All right, let's go to this one from Dan, who's got a full quote from David Carle regarding going to the NHL. Here's the quote. If it were to leave Denver for the NHL, as we've told recruits and anyone who asked, we need a really special opportunity, the right team, city, GM, opportunity to win, a vision to win, and then making it worth my while and my family's while to be a life-changing opportunity. So all those things still remain the same, and I'm not out there searching for it.
Interesting quote, but that doesn't really tell you anything. I don't believe for a second he's not waiting for an opportunity to be a coach in the NHL. That's the aspirations of all coaches. And for him to say he's fine staying, well, maybe he is. Well, there's plenty other good coaches out there. What's the guy from Pittsburgh who's won a couple of championships for the AHL? I can't think of his name, but that would be a good route to look. Yeah, we did a show on that months back, and he was originally my first pick. And if Carlisle doesn't want to coach in the NHL, so be it. There's a lot of good coaches out there that deserve a shot.
Todd Nelson.
Todd Nelson.
Thank you, Dan.
Good one.
Let's go to. We'll talk about Jiricek in a little bit here. I'll go to these from Keith. Hines definitely has his issues, but he has a high level of buy-in from the players.
Really? I don't see a high level of buy-in. Boldy and Rossi are putting out about 50%, along with half the players. Actually, the only players I see playing 100% are Hartman, Goodrow, and Foligno. And even though Boldy got a couple of goals, he should have twice as many as he has right now. He's that talented, but if you watch him, he's lollygagging on the ice all the time. I don't know what you guys look at, but when I look at his back checking and his two-way play, he never goes to the front of the net now. He's an outsider when it comes to offense. And he's not putting in 100% effort. Regardless of what you think, he's not. He's an exceptional player who's only playing half as good as he could.
Well, if he's not putting in 100% effort, then he shouldn't be on the team.
Well, half the team should be that way because, I told you a couple of years ago, Dino would get fired, and it's for the same reason. I look at the team reactions and their body language and their expressions during the game. That's why I knew he lost the team. And Hines, it's basically the same way. I know he's pissed off a lot of players putting Rossi down in the third line. I know he's not happy about that. He did put him back up, but still, Rossi's not a third line player. And that's one of the problems I have with Hines is his placement for all his players in the lineups. He had Gustav Nyquist on the first line. Why? What has he done to deserve being in the first line? He's got, 1 point since we got him here? That just shows you. And to give up a second-round pick? Come on. That doesn't fly. It really doesn't. And the latest, the kid from Boston, Brazier, he has 1 point. Brazo, he has 1 point also. Well, I don't know if anybody scouted him because he's not a good skater. He's not a bad skater, but he's slow. And, I know why they picked him up because he's a big boy. But if you can't catch up to the play, what does it matter? And giving up on Murat, I don't like that deal at all. I'd much rather have Murat. And it looks like Murat's found a home because they're playing him 15 minutes a game. He's already got a couple goals. And that's the difference between Hines and he just his evaluation of his talent, I think, is a little off. That's just my view, but that's what I think. Next comment.
Let's go to Bill Guerin. Also has issues, but he's the GM that's got the draft picks, aka the players who are about to hit. So I think I'm of the same belief. Craig Leopold's not gonna get rid of Bill Guerin when we finally have gotten to the point that the Parisi and Suter money's off the books. That was always the buffer window. Now, if they go through similar levels of lack of success, especially in the postseason, now that is off, sure, there will be questions that Billy will have to answer. But I don't see Bill Guerin being shown the door this year, especially. Craig Leopold's been pretty adamant that they're going to get past these dead cap hits, and then that's when their window opens. So Billy's going to get that opportunity. If that doesn't work out, then at that point he probably will be shown the door.
Well, I don't expect him to be shown the door. I expect him to step aside and be the president, not the GM. I don't expect him to get fired at all. But when you look at his last couple of trades, it says it all. A second round for Gustav Nyquist. How much worse can it be? You could have got Gustav Nyquist for a fourth or a fifth. There's nobody calling for him. And to give up a second for somebody who's not going to be here next year, that's poor management, period.
Yeah, and I agree. I was not a huge fan of that trade. But I still, it's Craig Leopold's decision, and he is going to be the one that decides whether Billy stays or goes. And I don't see that being a decision that gets made, even to step aside. I don't see that being a decision that's made until after next season at the earliest.
Yeah, you got a point there. Next comment. Let's get this rolling.
Let's go to Keith says once again, I think Billy's career here will be judged on playoff success starting next year and through the 2027 season.
Yeah, you got a good point there. It probably will be.
I think that's the window that will lead to whether he continues on or whether they make a change. I think it'll be next year and 2027. That's the evaluation phase. Let's talk a little bit about David Jiricek. Freddie wonders what's going on with Jiricek now that he was sent back down, spent 7-8 games, just
5
hanging
games.
out. 5?
I think it was 5. Yeah, it was 5
Okay.
games. And
Well,
I really question Hines for not playing him at least one game.
yeah.
Especially after what he showed us earlier when he was playing with Declan Chisholm. I don't get what he sees Merrill over Chisholm or Bogle, either one. He's better than both. And didn't you have a stat on Bogle and Morel playing together where they were last?
Yeah, in goals for per 60 minutes, they amongst the defensive pairings that have played, I think 400 plus minutes together, which is there are about 100 of them that have, but that's still a high enough number to have put together a solid sample size. They were dead last, which
There you go.
tells me that while the defensive metrics are still solid for that pairing, they're not giving you anything offensively.
Nothing. And just think of what Jurasek brings to the table. He's probably got the hardest shot, even though he's not with the team right now. He's got the hardest shot in the Wild organization, and it's extremely accurate. Just think what that would do for the power play. I mean, it amazes me how they can pick Morel and Bogle over Jurasek. I don't get it. And, it is what it is.
Well, and there were some, let me see if I can find there were some comments in the latest worst seats in the house that there is no chance there's not going to be any scenario where John Merrill comes out of the lineup because of his service time with the team. Of course, I'm not going to be able to find it right away.
Does that mean that they can't sit him?
No, they certainly can, but they don't seem inclined to do so because of his service time. Oh, fuck, I'm not going to be able to find it. Of course not. Well, I'll keep looking for it, but let's talk about Rossi, because there was a mention in that episode as well that the Wild are, quote, hilariously far apart with Rossi's camp on extension talks.
Oh, yeah. What does that mean?
It means he's getting traded.
Well, you know what? Every team in the NHL is going to line up to get Rossi, and yet he's not good enough to play here. That's another reason for Billy to step aside. That's ridiculous.
I think that tells you that his camp is asking for $8 million or more a year. Which is a lot. I'd still pay it.
No, he's going to get $8 million in the NHL. If he doesn't get it here, he's certainly going to get it from another. They'll be glad to hand over $8 million to get Rossi.
Yeah,
his career is just starting.
I would still be in favor of paying it. I think he's a tremendous player. I mean, he has enviable work ethic as a young player, and he just continues to find ways to get it done. I know he went on a little bit of a drought, but
the whole team did.
Yeah, he scored against Buffalo, so he's hopefully back on track. And just, I mean, he took a slap shot off the inside of the knee against the Kraken, and he just hopped right back in the next game.
Yep, kid's got a lot of heart, and he's turning 24, which normally is when good players become great players. And I use McKinnon as an example. His first 4 or 5 years in the league was very average. You know, when he hit 24, he took off, and that's where McKinnon is today. And I see that in Rossi. You know, I know Billy has a problem because he's not 6 feet, 200 pounds. Well, you know what? The bigger you are, the less mobility you have. and I've brought this time and again, there's a lot of great 5'10" players, including Kirill Kaprizov. He's only 5 years. And I don't get the size thing. You know, I think every single team in the NHL will line up to get Rossi. To me, it's a huge mistake.
Well, it feels like it would be a double down. Like he would, you know, you have a bad hand in poker, but you're running out of chips. And so you just go all in because you feel like you have no choice. I feel like trading Rossi would just be like a further dive into we got to be bigger, we got to be harder to play against, whatever trope you want to use. I'm not in favor of it. Ron's got a good point here. Bill Guerin's future is tied exclusively to Kirill Kaprizov signing an extension. That's 100% correct.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. There's if Kirill goes somewhere else, Billy's gone.
Yeah, he would not survive that. If Kirill leaves, Billy's gone. He's gone the next day.
You know, and the thing with Kirill, so we got Yurov coming over. And I know those guys are friends. They text each other all the time, and they keep up to date with what's going on. And I have Yurov replacing Zuggs on the first line. And I got Rossi as the center, and I got Kaprizov. You know, that would be my first line. If they're trading Rossi, who do you stick there? I mean, you know, Rossi's a hell of a player. He does. His two-way game is a couple of years ahead of everybody else for his age. And he goes constantly to the net. Who else do we have that does that? Eck, except Eck ain't playing.
Yeah.
That's a big deficit. Next.
Great point by Keith here. Nobody's talking about the upcoming Philip Gustafson extension, which is based on what we've seen this year, a rebound to form for Philip Gustafson. I think we can confidently say that last year was more of a byproduct of the team just not having it. Gus again, he's up near the top of the leaderboard in a lot of statistics, and he's going to be right around 60 games started. I think that would be a good thing for the Wild to look into, is keeping him around a little longer.
Absolutely. You know, at the beginning of the year, we had this discussion about Gus. The problem with Gus last year is he was out of shape. He gained like 15 pounds. And he was not in shape for the NHL. And when he realized that, he changed his methods. He changed his eating. He lost 12 or 13 pounds is what Tom Reed said. And he came into camp extremely strong and in good physical condition. And it shows. I mean, you look at the year before, he should have been second in the voting, but he only played 39 games, so he didn't get to they didn't add him because he got to play 40 in order to be considered. But Gus Bus, I'm all over that. And when you think you got Wallstead coming in too next year, that's extremely strong.
Well, and that just is going to give you the opportunity, because Jesper's he's a young goalie. There are going to be points in the year, especially as he's developing, where it may be a lot for him to take in. And it may be that he needs, he has a rough start and needs a couple of days to kind of process through it and work through it. Gus is very capable of starting 55, 60 games a year, which means you can ease Jesper into it and not overload him with too much right away.
That's exactly how I do it, because there's going to be games. I mean, Gus has games where, what the hell happened there?
Yeah.
But overall, he's top 5 goalie in the league.
Yeah, he is. He is sixth. He's sixth in wins right now. I don't know why my stats flipped. He's sixth in wins right now. He is Oh, now it's got all the backups. I was going to say he's in the top 10, probably right around that same area in save percentage, and his goals against average as well is in the top 10 too. He got 5 shutouts this year. And the team has needed him to be as good as he has. Like, think about some of those games where he records a shutout. If he gives up like 1 or 2 goals, it's probably a loss.
Yep. Oh, I love Gus Bus. I'm on board with Gus.
And it's like you're in a situation too where even if you give Gus like 4.5, like a modest raise, Jesper's making 2. Your goalie room is still pretty cheap.
Yep, it's very cheap. Look at who's the goalie in Florida? He gets $10 million a year.
Yeah, Sergei Bobrovsky. He's making 10.5.
Bro, yes. I would have never paid that but he did win the cup for him.
Yeah, that was a legacy contract that he got based off of getting to and winning the Stanley Cup. Yeah, and you don't necessarily want to give Gus trade protection, because if Jesper turns out to be exactly what you're hoping he'll be, then that's a potential trade chip that you have at your disposal too.
Why would you want to trade him?
Sometime down the line, like if it's clear that Jesper is ready for like 60 starts, but that's a conversation for well down the road. That's not a conversation for now.
Just think, Wallstead becomes what we all think he's going to be, and Gus, we would have the strongest goalie tandem in the league, period. And that's a good thing, because defense wins championships. And all I want to see is the cup. Everything else doesn't matter. We've been one and done for so long. And I understand we got the 15 million cap hit, and that's going away. And I understand why people think Billy should get the chance to fulfill his 5-year plan. And I understand that. But his trades have been terrible. And his extensions have been terrible. They've hurt the team. And any way you say it, any way you look at it, you can't explain it. Billy's the man, so we got to go with Billy's boys. But, and you look at Iowa, McLean, Jesus, they're a mess down there. They're in last place with all that talent. As I've said before, he's in over his head down there. Excuse me. They have to change up down in Iowa, because they got too much talent to be in last place.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
I think I think they need a coach that has kind of a development vision. McLean, I don't know. Like, it's just, I know he's a great, like, a lot of players applaud how good he is as like a player's coach, but we're not seeing any signs of progression. And that's really, like, I don't care about the wins, because if you've got a young team down there, the wins are going to sometimes be few and far in between. But how about some progress? How about some progress for a group of prospects that a couple of years ago we were touting all of those defensive prospects that they were going to be like the next wave to hop in. And now we've seen you bring Zeev Boyum in, and he immediately vaults to the top of the list. You trade for David Juracek, and he's considered probably your top defensive prospect outside of Boyum. I think those guys have leapfrogged the prospects that we thought were going to come in and be really, really good. Like, let's get some progress going.
Well, it's all coaching, and the coaching isn't there. One more. I didn't see what he did for the Wild when he was here as a coach, and I certainly don't see what he's doing down there to remain the head coach.
Yeah.
Next.
Here's an interesting one. This was also mentioned, and Alex and I are going to go into this in full depth. I have to find somebody on Reddit listed out all of the bullet points from Worst Seats in the House. Russo said that there is potential that Jared Spurgeon gets moved to free up cap and free up spots defensively this offseason.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. Of course, with Billy, who knows? But Spurgeon, even at his age, he's one hell of a defenseman. His first pass outlet pass is always right on. He closes down the gaps better than anybody. And I know his big knock is his height. That he's not big enough. But he does so many things so well. I wouldn't trade him. Period.
Let's go to this one from Glenn. If I was Kirill and Rossi, I would become a free agent. You can always re-sign here, but why play here when you can go to a Florida team or a Dallas team where they've got a chance at the Cup? Quick answer to that one from Glenn. Those teams do not have the money to bring in. Now they've committed to Dallas committed very quickly to Mikko Rantanen. Let's check their cap situation for the upcoming season. So the Stars have, why is it not listing this out? But they the Stars don't have the money without making major moves to add in a Kirill Kaprizov type player. And
none of the top teams have money.
Yeah. If Rossi's going to get 8, it's not going to be with Florida. It's not going to be with Dallas. Those teams are up to the cap. The only reason that Dallas has salary cap money right now is because Tyler Sagan's on long-term injured reserve, as is Miro Heiskanen. They would have to free up the money to do so, Glenn, but it's not just as simple as, well, I'm going to go here. Like, you'd have to move Tyler Sagan. You'd have to probably move somebody else. And Jason Robertson is going to be in the last year of his deal next year. So he has to be re-upped. Yep. And that's going to go from 7.75 to probably closer to 10. He's not quite a Kirill Kaprizov. He's still a very good player. But he's gonna be in the double digits. So they would certainly, and their GM is bold enough to where they would, but it would take moving money in order to bring somebody like that in.
A lot of money. And then, see, with Kaprizov, it's going to cost minimum $15 million to sign him. And how many teams can do that? Very few. And the ones that have the money, you would want to play with because they're in last place. Or they're bottom dwellers. You're looking at Anaheim, San Jose, Seattle. I mean, none of the teams that have the money to spend would he want to go there. This is Kaprizov's team. Regardless of what they say, it is his team. And he likes it here. I don't see Kaprizov going anywhere. Especially if you're off coming on board and some of the other kids that we got coming up. Kaprizov knows what's going on. And I think he likes what he sees. It's just a matter of, I just don't see it happening. He's re-signing. He'll play his whole life here. There'll be another, who's the guy who retired his whole year?
Koivu.
Koivu played his whole career here. I see Kaprizov doing the same.
Theodore wonders, has Kirill had a season where he hasn't been injured? It's a good question. His rookie year, he played 55 out of 56 games. And then his age 24 season, he played 81 out of 82. And if I recall correctly, in his rookie season, he was suspended he got a 1-game suspension. And then in his 21-22 season, he took like a slap shot to the face and he missed one game.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the 3 seasons since, he missed in his age 25 season, he missed 20 games because of Logan Stanley, the giraffe on skates. And then his age 26 season, he missed a few games at the beginning of the season because he was still trying to kind of shake that off. And now obviously this year with whatever has happened, we know it's a surgery, but I just find it funny that the team gets so hush hush about injuries. They're like, oh, we can't tell you what's going on. So no, he has not had a season in which he's played the full amount of games, but his first 2 years in the league, he only missed 1 each year, which if you miss, I'll say this, if you miss like 5 or fewer, if you play in 70 or more games, just with how physical the NHL is these days, and just the amount of freak injuries that can happen, if you play in 70 plus, I think we can consider that pretty close to a full season. It's not 82.
Oh,
it's not 82, but it's like 80% of a season, which I think is plenty. You look at some of the other sports and there are players sitting out because they're tired. You don't get that in the NHL. If players can play, they're going to be in the lineup.
Yep. Well, the thing is Kaprizov is always going to have groin problems. Gabby had the same problem. He only had 1 year where he played all after he left the Wild. It is what it is, and that's something you got to deal with. But how can you give up on top 5 player in the world? You can't. You just got to deal with it.
Yeah, I think at this point for the Wild, the ramifications of not re-signing him far outweigh the ramifications of signing him. Because here's the other thing too. Let's just say this. Let's say if after Kaprizov is re-signed, let's say he has a couple of seasons where he deals with injuries and misses major time. Well, then you can utilize that cap space to go get something pretty big because your window has opened. And so you can do some things to keep it open. But if you don't have him, like, you sink back into the levels of mediocrity that this team was post or pre Parise Suter.
Well, you just with Gabby, he always had groin problems the rest of his life. And with Kaprizov, I see the same thing happening. Groins are a funny deal. Once you get it, they never really go away. You just manage it the best you can. Next.
Do we know how he hurt his groin? Was it the Logan Stanley hit from a few years ago? See,
no.
This is why this stuff is frustrating, because we've never gotten a straight answer as to what happens. We had Joe Schmidt on the other week, and he said it was a sports hernia. Like we'll never know. Like we'll never get the full story until like the end of season press conference where it's like, oh yeah, he broke his leg and he had surgery. It's like, what? They're just so secretive about injuries. Like think about Brock Faber the other year, where after the season we found out that he played the final like 30 games of the year with broken ribs.
2 broken ribs. Yeah.
Nobody knew that. Nobody had any idea that he was dealing. I mean, we knew it was something because there was a tail off in his play, but nobody knew that it was the extent that it was. Like these guys are just built way different. If I was dealing with something like that, put me in a hospital bed, I would barely be able to even pick my phone up. Like these guys are playing hockey. They're skating up and they're going and throwing their body around. It's just I have the utmost respect for guys that try to suit up through these types of injuries. Could you argue that maybe they shouldn't? Yes, you absolutely can. But like, hockey's just different.
Yes, it is. Hockey players are a different breed. They can lose a couple teeth and just go right back out. They get stitched up with, when they get a stick in their face, they stitch them up and back out they go. Any other sport, they'd be put on a 30-day.
Yeah. Like
Oh.
you'd be lucky to see them before the season is done.
Absolutely.
It's just something else. Dougie says Kaprizov sells tickets and memorabilia. Go to a game and see how many 97s you have. From a business standpoint, you have to keep him plain and simple. Agree.
Absolutely. He's the first superstar the Wild have ever had. Probably the only one we'll ever have. Getting a superstar is hard. I've been watching hockey for 60 years, and I can tell you, from the North Stars all the way to here, the best North Star, I think, in my opinion, is Cicerelli. You know, and a lot of people don't agree with me there, but I believe Cicerelli, and he wasn't a superstar, but he was a great player. And of course, we got Gabby before Kaprizov. Gabby was a great player, but he wasn't a top 10. The best he ever did point-wise was his number 12 in the NHL.
Yeah.
It's hard to get top 10 players, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how many picks you get. It's just luck of the draw. And, you know, we picked Kaprizov in the 5th round. You just never know.
Yeah.
And his big take was he's not big enough. Well, there you go.
He's plenty physical. For his size. I was going to go to, another one that Ron brings up is that he's never received the types of calls that like McDavid and McKinnon and other superstars get, constantly taking a beating, which is very true.
That's Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I've talked about the refs and their no accountability. It's got to change. But you're right. He gets no respect.
Yeah.
Next.
Glenn says they won't play these young players. They have to go to Iowa. Heck, if we had Bedard or Celebrini, they would start them in Iowa because that's just how for Bill Guerin, that's just how it works.
Yeah, and that's why Billy needs to step aside. That's another reason. It's not the way hockey's played today, and it's not how teams run. Their picks, they put them where they should be. They see what they got, and they adjust it accordingly. And Billy's vision on hockey is from 20, 30 years ago. It's not today's hockey. That's another reason why I like to see him step aside.
Let's talk about Danila Yurov a little bit. Freddie wondering if we're going to add him for a playoff run. Well, that
all depends on his playoffs.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like a lot of these players are just contingent on what their teams do in their particular playoffs. The KHL playoffs are like they'll be getting underway and running until like the end of April. So that's going to be tough, but I think having Yurov here next year is a very, very reasonable goal. I think that's almost probably the favorite at this point, is having him here and having him be in the mix next season. I think that's the goal there. Zeev Buium, it depends. It depends entirely on how Denver does. We could easily see him get an ELC and get bumped up. I still think that that's probably the likely plan for him. But
absolutely,
it just depends on how these players' teams do. Like, and here's the other thing too. Like, I know we want them to be done quicker, so that they can come here and can help the NHL team. I want them to go on deep runs. Like, I just want to see them go on deep runs and be focal points for their teams so that they bring in some playoff experience when they come here.
Well, Zeev has been in the juniors the last 2 and won a hockey championship for college. He's ready. And I tell you, as I told you last week, somebody sent me a 2-minute clip of Zeev Williams skating, going through drills. Why, I'm telling you, I am really impressed. You know, he sees the ice so well, and his skating is way above average. He's going to be a superstar. Not right away, I don't think, but give him 2-3 years, he's going to be top of the league. He's going to be just like Faber. He's really that good. And, you know, I'm talking about Hughes and McCarr. You could put Zeev Williams right up there with him because he's that good. Next.
Keith wondering, is there any way to pry Mitch Marner out of Toronto?
Won't have the money.
He's
asking huge money. And is he worth it? What has he done in the playoffs? Nothing.
Well, and I think isn't he linked to Utah? Like, isn't he a huge target for Utah? If he gets to free agency?
I think he does go to free agency. I don't think Toronto's going to spend what he's asking. He's asking huge sums of money. And he's been there long enough there. You know what you got with him. He's a good regular season player. But in the playoffs, he doesn't produce. He doesn't get the space. And he hasn't adjusted his game. And that's why he doesn't produce nothing in the playoffs. So, you know, half a cup in one and half a cup in the other.
Yeah.
I wouldn't spend big money on him.
He's going to, like Dan mentions, he's going to be a target for 25 different teams. So there's going to be there's going to be a massive bidding war for his services. And that means that somebody, Chicago, is probably going to grossly overpay to try to bring him in.
Oh, and they will. And Chicago's in a position to do it too. They got the money.
I'm telling you, folks, the Chicago Blackhawks are in a spot where I think they are going to start just chucking money at people to come in and to be part of the group, because Bedard is obviously Bedard. They need some legit bona fide pieces to add to that team.
Chicago's a mess. You know, they got some pieces, but a couple pieces don't make a team. And you see it.
Sorry, excuse me. Their current cap space right now is $29 million.
There you go. $29 million. You could do a lot with that.
Yeah. The player that they have that is making the most money is Shea Weber. And
what's he get? 8?
He's hurt. He's getting 7.857.
Yeah.
So they have just a lot of guys on that team. Bertuzzi is making 5.5. That was a weird contract. But yeah, they need a lot of help in a lot of different areas.
Well, they're rebuilding, and it shows, just like San Jose. And I tell you, Anaheim, the kids are starting to come together down there. They're a fun team to watch right now. I don't know if anybody keeps up with Anaheim, but boy, they're fun to watch. They go up and down the ice, really nice.
About time. My God.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for Anaheim to have a pulse for like 6 years.
Well, when Disney bought them, they cut the spending payroll in half, and it is what it is. Got to spend money to be good.
Yeah, exactly. Glenn notes that Yurov's team, Metallurg, moved into second place, and they are starting the playoffs there now.
Oh, good.
So, good call. Good note. Thank you, Glenn.
Yes.
It's just there are too many leagues. There are too many leagues to keep track of. Like, I can barely keep track of the Minnesota Wild's NHL schedule, let alone the 40 other leagues that are going on throughout the world. Like, I don't know. I don't know how people do it.
Well, there are some people that just have the gift to remember everything. I'm not one of those people anymore. I have a hard time just remember what I'm going to say day to day. I'm not kidding. I write everything down so I don't forget. But I'm going to tell you something. Regardless of all the good points you brought up about keeping Billy on, I also brought up several issues for why we shouldn't have Billy on. And I hope you think about those, because the last 7 deals he's done, I mean, take a look at them. From the extensions to giving a second rounder for Gustav Nyquist, who's at the end of his career. That doesn't help the team at all. And if Judd doesn't want to be in, well, we got to find somebody who wants to be a GM here, who's got the vision with the kids, because we got all these kids coming up. We got to play them. And that's not going to happen with Billy and John Hines. And that's just my take on it. But I really, really believe we got to move on from Hines. His time management is so bad. You know, and it was nice to see that Foligno finally stepped up to the plate and said that the team was very disappointed at the trade deadline. Because remember, I told you I thought the team was they were really bummed. And that's not the word I use. I'm trying to think. What did I say? I forget. But he finally did come out and say the team was very disappointed in what they did. And it showed because they stopped playing for a while. And I don't think the team's over it yet. You know, even though they won some games, this coming week is going to be a big tell for how the Wild go. We'll see. It's going to be close either way. You're going to be in by 2 points or out by 2 points. That's my take.
Yeah. Well, that's been a full hour. Any nominations for what the hell are you smoking for this week, Denny?
Well, yeah. I'm going to go with Billy Guerin and giving up a second round for Gustav Nyquist. What the hell are you smoking when you thought of that? I mean, honestly, God, you could have got him for a 4th round. There's nobody in the NHL calling for Gustav to upgrade their team. And that one takes the cake. That's a cherry on the top. So, Billy, you get your first one from me. And with that, folks, thanks for taking the time to listen to Seth and I talk about hockey and our views. And we'll see you next Sunday.
We'll be back. We'll be back next Sunday. Alex and I will we'll have our episode tomorrow. I do just want to note now that the winter sports season is done for me, we are going to get back to regular postcasts as much as possible. So tomorrow night we'll have one. Tuesday night we'll have one. Thursday night we'll have one. We're going to get back to those as much as we can now that I don't have conflicts. So we'll have them for you. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody just being patient and understanding, because this obviously is a lot of big change for me in a short amount of time. And we cover a lot of games. So we'll get back to it down the stretch, and we'll see what happens with this team.
There you go. See you next Sunday, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.